Good morning. Brigadier General Frank, Mayor Fitzgerald, distinguished troopers, and family and friends of the Big Red One. Welcome to the 2017 Women's History Month Observance. Our host is the 1st Combat Aviation Brigade. I am Master Sergeant Laura Moore, and I will serve as your MC for today's event. Please stand for the singing of our national anthem by Specialist Elizabeth Amos from the 366 Armor Battalion, 1st ABCT, and remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Jeremiah Catlin from 1st Aviation Brigade.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallant stream, and the rockets spread glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. Our sovereign Lord, today, as we celebrate women's history, we are eternally grateful that from the dawn of your creation, you blessed us with women that have trailblazed, impacted, and shaped our history. Our nation and our military today has been molded by women that have toiled and worked to build its present state. While some may have even gone unsung or unnoticed, today I'm pleased that we get to pause to acknowledge all of their many accomplishments and contributions. Women have always shown great courage, leadership, strength, and love as they've pioneered new paths and impacted all of our communities. Even in your word, you show the powerful influence of women such as Abigail, who influenced David to refrain from war, as well as you show high praise of women by revealing your risen Son to Mary before all others. Therefore, may we not only take this day to honor their achievements and contributions, but we ask you to remind us to treasure those women impacting our own lives personally and the lives of those in our community. And we ask all these things in your most holy name. Amen.
Please be seated. National Women's History Month is the opportunity to honor and celebrate historic achievements of women. This year's Department of Defense theme, Honoring Trailblazing Women Who Have Paved the Way for Future Generations, highlights women who have successfully broken down barriers and changed the role of women, not only in the military, but the government sector as well. It is an amazing feat to watch women break barriers and pave the way. What better way to recognize the tremendous female leadership within Fort Riley and the surrounding areas than to have Mayor Fitzgerald, a former Big Red One soldier, as our guest speaker for today's event. To commemorate the celebration of Women's History Month, Sergeant First Class Stephanie Douglas from Special Troops Battalion, 1st ID Sustainment Brigade, will now read a portion from the Presidential Proclamation.
America honors the celebrated women pioneers and leaders in our history, as well as those unsung women heroes of our daily lives. We honor those outstanding women whose contributions to our nation's life, culture, history, economy, and families have shaped us and helped us fulfill America's promise. We cherish the incredible accomplishments of early American women who helped found our nation and explore the great Western frontier. Women have been steadfast throughout our battles to end slavery, as well as our battles abroad. American women fought for the civil rights of women and others in the suffrage and civil rights movements. Millions of bold, fearless women have succeeded as entrepreneurs and in the workplace, all the while remaining the backbone of our families, our communities, and our country. During Women's History Month, we pause to pay tribute to the remarkable women who prevailed over enormous barriers, paving the way for women of today to not only participate in, but to lead and shape every facet of American life. Since our beginning, we have been blessed with courageous women like Henrietta Johnson, the first woman known to work as an artist in the colonies, Margaret Corbin, who bravely fought in the American Revolution, and Abigail Adams, First Lady of the United States and trusted advisor to President John Adams. We also remember incredible women like Mary Walker, the first woman to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor, Harriet Tubman, who escaped slavery in 1849 and went on to free hundreds of others through the Underground Railroad, Susan B. Anthony, the publisher and editor of The Revolution, and her friend Dr. Charlotte Lozier, one of the first women medical doctors in the United States, both of whom advocated for the dignity and equality of women, pregnant mothers, and their children. Rosa Parks, whose refusal to give up her seat accelerated the modern civil rights movement. America will continue to fight for women's rights and equality across the country and around the world. Though poverty holds back many women, America cannot and will not allow this to persist. We will empower all women to pursue their American dreams, to live, work, and thrive in safe communities that allow them to protect and provide for themselves and their families. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim March 2017 as Women's History Month.
At this time, I would like to invite Mayor Fitzgerald, Brigadier General Frank, and Lieutenant Colonel Byer to the front to cut the cake to commemorate Women's History Month.
Check out that edge. Yeah, very good.
In honor of Women's History Month, the First ID Jazz Band, led by Song First Class Christopher Hitchman, will perform two musical selections. The first selection will be Golden by Jill Scott. The second selection will be I'm Every Woman by Shaka Khan. While the band is playing the selections, please take this opportunity to move to the back of the room and grab a piece of cake and refreshments and return to your seats. Without further ado, please welcome the 1st Infantry Division Jazz Band. How are you?
center over there. Like, get a couple. Maybe it's I know.
Please give the One ID Jazz Band another round of applause. And please take your seats so we can continue with the observance. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's event. Mayor Fitzgerald is originally from Nashville, Tennessee, but made Junction City her home in 1999. Elected to the City of Commission in 2015, she is currently serving as the mayor of Junction City. In addition to being an elected official, Ms. Fitzgerald works full-time on Fort Riley at the Mission Training Complex, where she is a team leader for a team of 8. And a certified instructor in various computer programs. Ms. Fitzgerald entered the Army in 1978 as an intelligence analyst. After serving 10 years as an enlisted soldier, she applied for and was accepted into the Warrant Officer program. Upon completion of the Warrant Officer training, Ms. Fitzgerald was assigned to Fort Riley in the 1st ID G2 office. She is a combat veteran of Desert Storm, where she was responsible for daily updates to the commanding general. In June 1999, after 21 years of service, she retired from the active Army. However, she continues to serve the Army today by training soldiers. Community service is the forefront of her agenda, as she is involved in several projects that focus on the beautification of Junction City. Believing that first impressions are lasting, Ms. Fitzgerald works hard on making the first impression great. Her most recent endeavor is to honor former soldiers of the Big Red One that have made Junction City their home by highlighting their service in a feature called What is Your Big Red One Story? Her goal is to complete 100 stories by the 1st ID Division's 100th anniversary on 8 June 2017. Phyllis has been married to her husband Keith for 33 years. Her spouse is also retired and a former Big Red One Desert Storm veteran, and is currently serving as the Junction City Police Department Operations Captain. They have 2 children, Jared and Amanda. Her son is an Air Force veteran, while her daughter continues to serve in the Air Force as a captain. Phyllis and Keith also have grandchildren, Adrian, Trenton, Hunter, and Addison. Please refer to our program to read her entire bio. As we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the 1st ID Division during 2017, we are proud to have Mayor Fitzgerald, a Big Red One Desert Storm veteran, be our guest speaker for the year's Women's History Observance. Without further ado, please welcome Mayor Phyllis Fitzgerald.
Here I am. Wow, thank you so much for that nice introduction. Well, I set out my briefing to start out with good morning or good afternoon, but since it's afternoon, we know it's good afternoon. So good afternoon, and again, thank you for that nice introduction and for inviting me to be the guest speaker this year. The theme for the National Women's History Month for 2017 is Honoring Trailblazing Women in Labor and Business. When I was first asked to be the guest speaker, Sergeant First Class Figueroa had shared with me the topic. And when I heard labor, I thought, well, I could talk about labor because I've had a couple of children, as many of you could possibly relate to. But then as I heard the complete theme for this year, it became quite evident that my initial thought of labor was not having children, but women in the workforce. The theme for the 2017 National Women's History Month honors women who have challenged the role of women in both business and in the paid labor force. Women have always worked, beginning with the home, but often it took a lot of sweat, tears, and sheer determination of women to get out of the mindset that women only take care of the home and the kids. For women that are in the workforce today, those pioneers worked hard in challenging the inequalities in the workplace of lower wages, poor working conditions, and limited opportunities, and they fought to make the work environment less hostile for women. This endeavor and effort took time, but it was well worth the time. Women were able to succeed in expanding their place in commerce and their power in the paid labor force. Women were able to defy the social mores of the time and become successful business owners, create organizations while paving the way for better working conditions and wages, not only for themselves but for other women as well. Women have proven time and time again that we can succeed in every field. Prior to World War II, women were expected to stay at home and tend to the needs of the home and the children, while the men went out to work. In 1941, the United States entered into World War II. Women may have been drawn into the wartime economy through a variety of mechanisms, one being that the husband was away at war and the family's income had dropped substantially, or it could have been for patriotic reasons to join the war effort. During this time, women served in the military. In the Navy, women volunteered and enlisted into the program that's called the WAVES, which stands for Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Services, and they served in many non-combat roles while being a WAVE. Women also signed up to fly with the United States military. These were wives, mothers, actresses, debutantes whom joined the WASP, which are Women Air Force Service Pilots, and what they did was they test piloted aircraft, they ferried planes, and they logged more than 60 million miles in the air. And over 150,000 women served in the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps during World War II in non-combat military jobs, thus freeing the men for combat. Members of the WAC were the first women other than nurses to serve within the ranks of the United States Army. Women also replaced men in the industrial labor force. What World War II did was open the door or a new chapter for the depression-weary Americans. While husbands, fathers, sons, and brothers were being shipped off to fight in Europe and the Pacific, millions of women went to work in the factories, in the offices, and on military bases, in paying jobs and in the roles that were traditionally reserved for men during peacetime. Even though women joined to help in the fight, they still had their own private battles. Women weren't just in the military, they were also journalists and photographers. For example, some women went on to become journalists and photographers, capturing, in some instances, the front line of what was happening in the war. But this did not come without a fight. What World War II did was offer to women new professional opportunities. There were women such as Toni Frizzell, Janet Flanner, May Craig, and others who succeeded in coming to the front line. What these women helped to secure was the opening of a window on a generation of women who changed American society forever by securing a place for themselves in the workplace, in the newsroom, and on the battlefield. Journalists and photographers weren't the only trailblazers. Who can forget Rosie the Riveter? Of all the images of working women during World War II, the image of women in factories predominates. Rosie the Riveter, the strong, competent woman dressed in overalls and a bandana, was introduced as a symbol of patriotic womanhood, and she is still today, in the 21st century, the most iconic representation of women in the workplace. World War II ends, and women were being displaced from their newfound jobs by the returning men. The women were encouraged to go back to their homemaking. However, many women were in the trade union began challenging both gender and race discrimination. As the years passed, women continued to make new paths and blaze trails, and by 1963, there was the Equal Pay Act, which is part of the Fair Labor Standard Act of 1938 that was signed by President Kennedy. This act prohibits discrimination and on the basis of sex when workers perform substantially equal work, and has been credited as one factor in the rise of women's wages overall. After the upheaval of the 60s, the 70s brought about a thing called Women in Revolt. An example of this revolt occurred when 46 Newsweek women sued their bosses with a gender discrimination lawsuit that changed the workplace. What happened during this time period was the women did all of the investigation, wrote the files for the reporters, and the reporters, who were all men, would put their names on the stories and send it to press. These women researchers were not only putting the story together, but they also had to serve their bosses coffee, and they were not given any credit for the story. These women were not happy that they were not getting any promotions and were being discriminated against. This was a violation of the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. A lawsuit was launched. The first lawsuit failed, but the second one, with the hiring of Eleanor Holmes Norton, succeeded. The women had some demands, and those demands were this: that 1/3 of the reporters and 1/3 of the writers had to be women, and 1/3 of the men had to be researchers. And the final demand was that they wanted to have a senior editor. That lawsuit was settled in 1970, and in 1975, they did get their first senior editor, and that would be Lynn Povich, whom was one of the female staffers in the original complaint. This women's movement has not solved everything, because women today are still hitting the glass ceiling, not a legal one, but a cultural one. Through the decades, women have always worked hard at achieving success. Here are some more names of trailblazing women through the decades. So, in 1981, we have Sandra Day O'Connor, who became the first woman appointed to the United States Supreme Court by President Reagan, and she served until she retired in 2006. In 1983, Sally Ride, the first female to reach outer space. 1997, Madeleine Albright, first woman Secretary of State and highest ranking woman in the United States government. 2005, Condoleezza Rice, the first African American to be appointed Secretary of State. 2007, Nancy Pelosi, first woman to become the Speaker of the House. 2007, Hillary Clinton, first woman to run for the United States presidency. And in 2016, Hillary Clinton wins the nomination at the Democratic National Convention. She became the first woman to receive the presidential nomination from a major political party. In her acceptance speech, she said, "When there are no ceilings, the sky's the limit." Although women have been pioneers of change for years, today we still need strong, successful women to continue to lead the charge and pave the way for future generations, especially here in Kansas. According to a recent study conducted by 4 women professors from the University of Maryland, Southern Methodist University, University of New Hampshire, and University of Denver, Kansas ranked number 19 out of 51 on the 2017's Best and Worst States for Women. This study included the 50 states and the District of Columbia. Today, and just for your information, today nearly 2/3 of all minimum wage workers in the United States are women. The study that was conducted, there were 19 factors that were divided into two main categories. The first category was the women's economic and social well-being, and Kansas ranked number 13 in that. And the second category was women's health care and safety, Kansas ranking 26. The best state was the state of Minnesota. The month of March is when we take the opportunity to highlight and commend women who have made an impact in our history, our communities, and our military. It is our duty and responsibility to be role models for our young girls and women. We need to encourage them to not be afraid to step out and step up or step out of their comfort zone. We need to encourage them to go for it, because we can be anything that we want to be. Many of you today and many past trailblazing women had to take that same step. The actions of these women have broken down walls, barriers, and ceilings for our generation and for generations to come. There are 13 women that were identified for this year by the National Women's History Project as trailblazers. They came from many diverse backgrounds, and each of these women made their mark in a different field. And Lily Ledbetter is one of those 13 women that I would like to highlight. She was an equal pay activist. She was from Jacksonville, Alabama, and in 1979, she got her dream job. And that was as working as a manager at the local Goodyear tire factory, as the only woman on the factory floor. She was sexually harassed every day, and despite the harassment, she stayed on, hoping it would get better. 19 years later, she received an anonymous note that she was being paid significantly less than her male counterpart doing the same job. She responded with filing a sex discrimination case against her longtime employer. In 2007, the United States Supreme Court ruled 5-4 against Ledbetter because she had not filed within that 180 days, which was the law at the time, from receiving her first discriminatory paycheck. Because she was not aware of the pay discrimination, she was encouraged to keep fighting. And she did. And in August 2008, she spoke to the Democratic National Convention. And on January 29th of 2009, President Obama signed the Lily Ledbetter Fair Pay Act into law. And what the law does, it loosens the time restrictions on filing discrimination cases, allowing the 180-day clock to reset every time an individual experiences an act of discrimination. But despite the victory, Lily has never received a settlement from Goodyear. I selected her because in a past employment, I was the only female leader, and I can relate to the struggles of being that only female leader. The interaction was substantially different between male and female leaders. And I'm not going to stand here today and tell you that it's not been an easy road to get to where I am today. It took a lot of hard work and a lot of determination. I came from a country poor family. We lived in the projects for several years. My mother had a welfare lady who wanted to take me out of the home because she had found a family that wanted to adopt a little girl. But my mother refused to let that happen despite our situation. I graduated from high school whilst my 3 brothers all quit. I joined the Army with my parents' signature because I was only 17 at the time. And as you recall from my bio, I went in as a private and retired as a CW3 because I was in the military during the time where the motto was be all you can be. And I knew that I could be all that I could be. So I applied for Warrant Officer School and was accepted into that program and retired after 23 years as an intelligence warrant officer. Deployed to Desert Storm with the 1st Infantry Division, all while raising a family. I wanted to have a career and be an example for my son and my daughter. As a civilian, I became a team leader and was able to get my master's degree in administration. And now I'm the mayor of Junction City, Kansas. And it's been 15 years since they had a female mayor of Junction City. And I believe I'm probably the 3rd female mayor of Junction City, Kansas, and a combat veteran on top of it, of the 1st Infantry Division, which I'm very proud of. So for myself, I'm not done yet. All of these things that I shared with you helped me to make me who I am today. Even though there were hurdles along the way, my drive, my determination, perseverance, and the motivation that I have got me here today, got me to where I am today. Lily was a trailblazer that fought for equal pay for women. In our communities, we have many women who are trailblazers in their businesses, schools, and politics that are also very successful. I would like to share the names and achievements of some of these women. And by all means, the list is not all inclusive because there are so many great women that are in our communities, whether it's in Junction City, Manhattan, Wamego, Abilene, Fort Riley, there are a lot of great women. And again, these are women, just a few of the amazing women in the Central Flint Hills region. And I believe personally that that list can go on and on. In Junction City, we have Cheryl Beatty, who's our Assistant Junction City Manager and Finance Director, 34 years in management and 28 years in government management. Daphne Maxwell who is a governor-appointed state commissioner for Congressional District 1 on Kansas African American Affairs, and she does a lot of other great things as well. Beth Hudson, who's our associate superintendent for USD 475. LaDonna Younghands, owner of LaDonna Younghands Insurance Agency. Connie Hall, a lot of y'all know her, recently retired CVB director, many years in that position. Jennifer Farr, if you didn't know her, she is our USD 475 Regional Teacher of the Year for 2016. Melissa Tyson, the publisher of our Daily Union newspaper. Jill, Tara, Ashley, Maddie, Shirley, they are part of a great team of the Delivering Change, Healthy Moms, Healthy Babies, a great program. Jolana Montgomery Matney, Executive Director of the Gary County Healthcare Foundation. Jackson City Police Lieutenant Trish Giordano, our first female lieutenant in our police department. Meredith Butler, Director of our Community Corrections, a job she's been in for many years as well. And I'll mention one more from the Jackson City, Gary County area, and that's going to be former County Commissioner Florence Whitebread. But again, in Jackson City, Gary County, there's lots of great women leaders there. Some of our Manhattan female leaders include, there's right now 3 women serving on the Manhattan City Commission, and it's the only the second time in history to have 3 women serving on a commission. And that's going to be Mayor Yusha Reddy, Mayor Pro Tem Linda Morris, and Commissioner Karen McCullough, who was the mayor last year, and Linda is going to be the mayor after Yusha. So there'll be 3 women mayors in a row for Manhattan. Kelly Lobb, Little Apple Brewery co-owner. Dr. April Mason, first woman provost at the Kansas State University. Sydney Carlin, state representative. She was the first woman from Manhattan to serve in the Kansas House of Representatives. And then we have some of our female leaders. And in the program, I know I looked at it, and there's quite a few female leaders from Fort Riley listed in there. But I'll just name a few more, so if I'm repeating them on the list, I apologize. Major Jamie Peer, G1 for our First ID Sanctuary staff. Command Sergeant Major Hill, DHHB CSM, and she's currently deployed right now. Major Aaron Robinson, 1ID Division SGS. Captain Jamie Picha, Division Surgeon's Office. Sergeant First Class Shanita Harvey, G1. Lieutenant Colonel Julie Maxwell, Sustainment Brigade Support Operations. Major Laurie Weimer, 97th MP Battalion S3. Ann Meredith, Director of Emergency Services, 97th MP Battalion Commander. Sergeant First Class Brian, Senior Post Chaplain Assistant. Diane Peters, Civilian Personnel Advisory Center. Kathy Belender, EEO Director. Jill Glassnap, Garrison Executive Officer. And I cannot leave out our very own Tracy Scott, who is our Regional Liaison Officer. And if y'all don't know her, she's an awesome lady and does a lot for all of us. And one more I want to mention, and that's going to be my daughter, my little daughter, Air Force Captain Amanda Montgomery, who followed in her mom and dad's footsteps of service to her country. Our military women have done so much and have broken through so many barriers along the way, all done in great pride and determination. In closing, as a reminder for all of us, women have always worked, beginning with the home, but often it took a lot of sweat, tears, and sheer determination from women to get out of the mindset that women only take care of the home and the kids. There are still trails to blaze, and it is mine and your responsibility to continue to work on blazing those trails. It is our responsibility to continue to break down those mindsets, break down those walls and ceilings, because the dreams and opportunities of women are unlimited and are reachable. I'd like to just share one last comment, and that is that my mother is probably the proudest of me and of all the things that I have been able to accomplish. I believe that I am doing many of the things that she would like to have been able to do in her time. Thank you for inviting me to be your guest speaker this year.
Mayor Fitzgerald, thank you for sharing your knowledge and insight with us today. At this time, Brigadier General Frank, 1st Infantry Division Acting Senior Commander, will present Mayor Fitzgerald a gift as an appreciation for guest speaker for today's event.
Thanks, Ardmore. Phyllis, we're not going to give you the gift yet, all right? Give me a chance to brag about you a little bit. So, if Phyllis Fitzgerald, in our 100th year in this division, for National Women's Month, for this observance, wasn't the right candidate to have, I don't know who is. The division, 1st Infantry Division, your division, Phyllis, couldn't be more proud of you. And you know that. You're a Big Red 1 soldier, you're a Big Red 1 veteran, and your community service knows no bounds. And everybody in here, everybody throughout the Flint Hills knows that. So first, I'd like to thank everybody from Junction City. Junction City, you came out very strong today to support your mayor, so thank you for doing that with all your leadership. We got distinguished troopers in here. We got friends from across the Flint Hills, commanders and sergeant majors, thanks for being here also. Phyllis, you can see commanders and sergeant majors giving up time away from their soldiers. They want to be here to support you and to hear your words today, because they were definitely inspiring to us. You talked about be all you can be. You joined the Army when that was our slogan, our motto, be all you can be. I think we all leave here today knowing that Phyllis Fitzgerald definitely has been everything that she could be, and she continues to grow in her community service. We see that each and every day, whether you're Jamie Pierre and John Lawrence down there joining her on a Saturday to pick up garbage around Junction City and improve the quality of life for all of us. Because whether we live on Fort Riley in Manhattan, around the Flint Hills, Junction City is also our hometown. So we're always down in Junction City, and we appreciate everything that you do for us down there. Her energy behind the 100 stories. Phyllis shares with me the addresses for each of these veterans that she writes about. And we sent them a note from the division thanking them for their service. But I can think of no other leader that has thought so much. This is the humility of this leader. She wants to recognize others for what they've done for this great division and what she has done for the community, and allowing us to read all these awesome stories about these 100 veterans of our awesome division has just been a tremendous event. And we're going to cap that off in June when we bring all those veterans together. So Phyllis, thank you very much. But it goes beyond our veterans. It goes to our brand new soldiers. Some of you have heard this story. In December, when they're hanging up Christmas ornaments in Junction City, 4 of our soldiers, brand new to Fort Riley, basically just out of the replacement company, so that's a week or 2 out in Fort Riley, going up into Dave Gardner's brigade, 2nd Brigade, 118 Infantry. I think most of them are vanguards. They show up, don't know anything about Junction City. They're from parts all across America, and they find who? A civilian down on the main street in Junction City. They don't know the person they found is the mayor of Junction City, or then about to be the mayor of Junction City. Phyllis Fitzgerald, hanging up ornaments across the main street down there. She befriends these soldiers rapidly, like she's befriended everybody in this audience. And those soldiers have gone to multiple events after that. They consider themselves citizens of Junction City. So Phyllis, thanks for that positive energy you have across the Flint Hills and that you share with us here at Fort Riley all the time. When we see Rosie the Riveter, I would challenge everybody out here. So this is a 20th century picture, World War II. 21st century Rosie the Riveter is Phyllis Fitzgerald, the mayor of Junction City, former Big Red 1 veteran. So Phyllis, thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause. So Phyllis, come on up. We'll keep you out of the spotlight there. So, the giant Big Red 1. We traditionally give these to our officers and non-commissioned officers that lead the division headquarters. They all are told, hey, this has to end up on your desk wherever you're going. They'll let them know that you're a Big Red 1 soldier, you came from Fort Riley, Kansas, and you're proud of having been in this division. Phyllis, you're one of us. You always have been. We continue to be very proud of your service to this division, especially in the 100th year. So we hope this makes its way to your desk down in Junction City as the mayor of our neighboring city, Fort Riley and Junction City. Many of you know that we just celebrated the 26th anniversary of Operation Desert Storm and the breach operation that the 1st Infantry Division was the spearhead on. We recreated that up on Custer Hill. The division had a run that day. Every soldier in a PT formation ran through that breach. We've got several other veterans that were a part of that in the audience today. Phyllis was there too. So asked to see this photo afterwards. So Phyllis busted out her old Desert Storm uniform. She told me, yeah, she says, I'm busting them out. She looked like she was still briefing General Rank. You heard she was the warrant officer that gave the intel briefings. That's a pretty important position. Briefing the commanding general on what they were about ready to do, crossing through the Iraqi defensive positions on the way to spearhead that operation 26 years ago. So to have all these veterans, and you can see them all here, gathered around that iconic sign that says, "Welcome to Iraq," courtesy of the 1st Infantry Division. That was the sign that all our soldiers saw when they were in Iraq, having freed Kuwait from Saddam Hussein's army. Phyllis Fitzgerald was one of those veterans. And you can see her, she's right in the middle there in her chocolate chip uniform right next to the sign. But that was a proud day for all of us, and I wrote on here, Mayor Chief Fitzgerald, you continue to inspire 1ID soldiers from combat to community service. Duty first.
Please stand for the benediction by Chaplain Catlin of 1st Cab.
Let us pray. Our Lord, thank you for the pause and the reflection that we were able to give today to those women impacting our history, our nation, our military, our communities, and even our lives personally. So may we now leave here with the fervor to give even greater honor unto the women that continue to influence our lives today. And we will ask all this in your holy name. Amen.
Before we conclude, I would like to give a round of applause to everyone involved with putting this program together. Thank you for your attendance. This concludes today's observance. Duty first.